Oh man, how long have I been out? Welcome back everyone to another episode of the Megabuild Survival Series with me, the Maximus JK, and it has been a while since I last recorded. I've still been making a lot of progress in the world, especially over Twitch, but in that time, I've made a ton of changes to this survival village. But first, sleep. As you can see, walking around this village, a lot has changed and it's looking super different. I've added a bunch of buildings, some fields, and I really would like to give you guys a tour of all the progress I made. Starting out here, which I think is the best view of the city. I built this canal, which separates the new area from the old area that we've been working on for a while. I made this wooden bridge along with this canal and built out the sides of the walls with some cobblestone and andesite, as well as some tuff to brace these walls for the water. I added this copper and deep slate bridge right over here, and I think it looks fabulous. One thing I'm super happy about is the concept of shape. These arches here, these support beams right here, and the overall shape of the bridge really make it feel special to me and like it's been here for a while. Another thing I worked on making is adding some custom birch trees. I think these skinny birch trees really add something and look a little more lived in and loved than the basic vanilla trees that are added in Minecraft. I also built this building here with a log storage and our little doggo that I got over on Twitch. But unfortunately, like all my buildings, they are empty and probably will never be filled. I find that I really love building and interiors just slow me down. They take forever and no one really ends up seeing them. I find that there's no real purpose. I'd rather spend my time building the environment that we live in and really make it pretty before I get into the actual built environment. One thing I noticed really adds some interesting character to these builds are fields. So I added a rose field over here, a wheat field here, and a sunflower field over there. I also collected a lot of flowers, so I want to build out more and more fields in the future. The main meat of which you guys missed was this massive lighthouse build that flashes with observers every few seconds. The observers flash in a really cool pattern. Look, there it is now. Right now, this lighthouse and docks are the tallest building in the village, but I think a lot more can be added over time. This is not a super complicated redstone. I have an Aeaea hopper clock that pulls into this observer that all goes in this kind of wild, interesting pattern. It's different than a lot of traditional lighthouses that you would build in this game, but I think it adds that atmosphere to this build. And as the copper oxidized over time, the blue really fit in much more than the orange. I also made this scaffolding thing, which I'm definitely not happy with. There's definitely a lot more contrast that could be added. It's something that I think would really add to the build in the future. Another thing I've been interested in is adding these above ground bridges that go from the portal, which you can just barely see is in there, over to new areas of the terrain. But it's definitely a cool place for future expansion that I would love to add. I love this natural feel that I've added to this area, and I think it's coming out super well. Added some few more custom trees up here and one over here. This is the big boy. And this roof is slowly oxidizing over time. One thing that I think is super important while building is the concept of sightlines. When you're building this 3D structure, you want to make sure that you have these small little vignette views that really look special when looking out through your build. For example, I think right now my favorite sightline is this view right here. Just over the bridge, you can barely see the hill, you can see the walkway, you can see this new build here, and you can just get the most perfect view of the city from here. One thing I love is that different angles change the way you can see things. For example, this tree has this slight, beautiful curve to it that makes it look like it's been here and grown through ages and ages, unlike a lot of these other straight trees. This adds a little interest and a little kind of character to this tree compared to the other ones. But since this is a 3D object, you don't get to see it from every vantage point. From here, you can still... From here, it looks like a totally straight and vertical tree. Broke a crop here, gotta fix that. Now, I cleared out a lot of trees here, and I think there's much more room for expansion over time. I do think that this build does need a centerpiece in the future, and I really would like to build something really special right here. Either a castle or a main hall, or something that brings all your focus up to this tall building here. Just to get an idea of what that structure will look like, I'm gonna build up a basic shape that I think will really show what I'm talking about. I'm gonna use wool from the sheep farm just so we can get an idea of picture. This is definitely not gonna be the final shape that we go with, but it'll just give you an idea of what we're working with here. We can now see your eyes start focusing on that build a little bit more, and it can really show something kind of really special and center this build onto one massive structure. I think it will look really, really cool in the end, but that's not one of the main things I want to show you today. I have a lot of room to work with, but this is definitely not the only project I've been messing around with. We're flying here in the twilight just under the fall of night to show you something super cool that I've been working on over the last few weeks. Passing through spawn, you can see the blue outline that appears in the twilight distance. Upon the horizon, you will see a massive hole in the ocean. I cleared out all the water using a tutorial by Coffee Craft, and I highly, highly, highly recommend this tutorial. This is by far the easiest way to clear out a massive hole in the ocean, and I would highly recommend it. I have linked the video in the description. This time lapse only took me 30 minutes, and although I did have to load some backups because I did not build the flying machines correctly, this was by far the easiest way to clear out a massive area of water. What do we have here besides the arrows that I'm covered with? On stream over the last few weeks, I've been working on a massive, massive, massive Guardian farm. In a previous world that I made with my friend Mark, I made the Megabuild Aeaea. This Megabuild inspired me to make this YouTube channel and show off my creations to the rest of the world on YouTube and Twitch. Citizens of Philadelphia, stop setting buildings on fire. I drained this 130 by 130 by 60 foot area in the world to build a Megabuild that I've already built before. Aeaea was the first mega build I made where I truly knew that mega builds were my passion in this game. I love building on a scale that I didn't think was possible. Instead of building smaller and more individual structures, I like to come out with one grouping of a massive build. In this series, I called it Megabuild Survival because I wanted to show off my mega building skills. Now, it is a little slow moving as these mega builds have taken me 4 to 6 months to complete per build, but I was kind of stuck in a pickle here with this Guardian farm, but I kind of want to explain it to you in signs. Guardian farm options. In my mind, there were 3 ways I could go about building a Guardian farm. Option 1, build a standard Guardian farm. This would be any sort of normal, easy to build survival Guardian farm that you can get done in an afternoon. However, I tend to like farms with big rates, so I would have to drain an ocean anyway to build something of my caliber, which I would consider acceptable in this world. I think that this project would take 30 hours to complete. Option 2 would be build another mega build of a Guardian farm, or build another massive independent new structure that would fit this Guardian farm instead of making it an ugly structure. Decorate a new Guardian farm. Decorating a new Guardian farm could take any amount of time. I don't know what I would come up with, but I can tell you for sure it would take a while to come up with. And I know one thing's for certain. If I was ever to do it again, I would never make it as impressive as I made Aeaea. This Guardian farm, I think, would take maybe 60 hours. Yeah, editing max here. Aeaea took me like 300, 400 hours to complete, so there is no way a fully decorated new idea Guardian farm would take 60 hours. Option 3. Build Aeaea again. I'm building a world that I dedicate to mega builds, and I think that Aeaea is my greatest mega build ever. I plan on playing in this survival world for many, many years to come, and I think it would feel a little lonesome without Aeaea in this world. So I asked myself, how much more time do I think it would take for me to build Aeaea while removing all the mistakes I made from previously building Aeaea and subtracting the time it would take to build a dugout Guardian farm anyway? With my moron brain, I decided I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna build it again. Additionally, the big vines I designed in-game were not built in creative mode, unlike some other parts of the build. This means that I would make some changes, fly away, look at them, make some changes, go fly away, look at them, make some changes, fly away, look at them, etc., etc., etc. This took so many hours, and I think I went insane. But I already have a schematic for Aeaea. It's already done. All I have to do is get the blocks and place them. One thing special about Aeaea is that its block palette is not actually super diverse. I decided I'm going to collect all the resources up front, and this is what I came up with. I need 23 shulker boxes of prismarine bricks, 12 shulker boxes of dark prismarine, 5 shulker boxes of sea lanterns, 2 shulker boxes of prismarine, 7 shulker boxes of warp fences, 6 shulker boxes of cyan glass, 4 shulker boxes of warp wart, and 3 shulker boxes of cyan wool. Those materials aren't insane because I can AFK for almost all of them. In fact, I can AFK for all of them. But you may be asking, I think there's one material that we can't AFK for. Glass. One of my biggest complaints about this game, besides the inventory, why, is that glass is not renewable. Except That's not really true. I spent some time building up a very special farm in the world, which is Cow King's Glass Duplicator in the end. One of the coolest farms I've ever built. Cow King, if you're watching this, you are a genius. The way this works is there are 2 settings. Actually, I think it will be easier if I show you. Let me explain to you how this farm works on the overworld side, then I'll explain the end side. There's 2 things going on with this farm. This is a tile entity duper. A tile entity is any block that has gravity. Think any concrete powder, sand, red sand, or gravel. You can see that the concrete powder has been loaded up into these cells. These basically cycle through over and over and over again until they travel through the end portal. This makes it so that the tile entity or the sand block is falling at the same time that it lands in the end portal, which means that it's simultaneously in the overworld and in the end, which creates a duplication. We take the products that appear in the end and turn them into either item form, so these powder, or we turn it into concrete. The second part of this farm is just over here with this small contraption, which is a chunk loader. This basically sends a boat through the overworld and the nether over and over again, which permanently loads this farm. So when I'm in the end, the farm will be loaded and can actively run. So when I turn on this farm, it's A, super loud, and B, I have to run to the end side as fast as possible, just so the blocks don't bunch up and break the farm. I set up this lever here. You're gonna start seeing the farm start churning. I think I'm ready. I'm gonna turn it on. You're gonna start seeing it start pull through. The lag starts to appear, and then we head to the end. In the end, you will see all the tile entities, I don't know what happened with this one, are duplicating and they're falling into this fence gate right here. If I hop into free cam mode, you will just see that they land on a top slab where they land into water and are funneled into this tube that go into an array of shulker loaders. It kind of breaks all the time, so if I get it to run successfully, I like to run it for a few hours. It broke. No! All right, take 2. I debugged this off camera, so hopefully this works. You can start seeing the lag, and if we head to the end, we should see 4 powders being duplicated in each direction, and they are successfully landing on that slab and heading on down to the middle into that storage array over there, which we'll look at in a second. Now I'm ready for concrete mode. These fence gates will open up and the slime blocks will have the powder slide all the way down until they're put into that water stream and then sent to a central blast chamber, which is under this obsidian. So let's hope this works. I click it. You can see that the powder starts sliding down and starts getting pushed into these slime block machines. Perfect. Yep, so the powder turns into concrete and is sent to the blast chamber and then sent through the central pipe to the storage array. This is a massive storage array, which is double speed item filter shulker loaders that are filling up on concrete. And I ran this farm for a whole lot of time, and I can say that we should have enough concrete and concrete powder to last a little bit of time. Having shulker boxes of this concrete will be super helpful for another mega build that you can kind of see over my shoulder. This one I've gotten major writer's block on, so maybe you guys can help me in the comments. In our last episode, we built this shulker farm, which was part of a potential idea for an end city. My idea was a cyberpunk-inspired city build in the end as an end island transformation. I really love these builds that I made, but I'm not really sure where to go from here. I don't know how to fit the shulker farm into the end city build, and I want to figure out the best way to combine this and this inside something awesome. I've taken a little break from this build, and although I really like designing these buildings, I want to make these assets the best that they can be. I'll definitely come back to this at a later date, but right now it's temporarily on hold. Back in the village here, and I want to start working on the major build that will be the centerpiece of this village. I want to work through this build on camera and show you the steps that I take to build a building in Minecraft. After playing this game for 10 years, I've sort of developed a method to how I build buildings in Minecraft. So the first thing I want to do is focus on shape. This is where I focus on the outline and figure out how big I want the actual building to be. All my buildings are built with odd numbers, just because it's much easier to have a central block and build outwards from there. If you have an even number, everything will have to have 2 blocks, and 2 blocks next to each other doesn't really work super well in Minecraft, in my opinion. I usually start with a grid of 5x5 blocks, and then I build out from there. So for this build, I decided to go 5 wide, 5 sections of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to go out, I don't know, a few blocks just to see. And maybe one more. Now, this is kind of going into a valley, so I'm not really sure how that's going to work, but we can deal with that later. So I think that's going to be the shape of my building right here. I think I would probably want to terraform this and maybe make some cliff face or something back here, but I'm going to worry about that later. The next step is I want to figure out the 3D shape of this build. So this is where I'm going to start making the outlines. So I'm going to pillar up and figure out how tall I want to make this building. I want to have 2 turrets on the side and 1 central hall. So flying over here, I like that. And I like that shape, and we can put some special roofs there and then 1 central roof there. So I built up the 3D structure here, and now the next step I want to work on is building up the walls and sort of creating interest and depth in the build. So right now it's looking a little plain. These walls aren't going to be super exciting. I want to start thinking about the roof lines and figuring out where I can add interest and style to this build and not make it just so boxy. So I'm going to build up some of the walls here, and then hopefully we can see how the build turns out. Now, these builds have 2 color palettes in them. This bottom section of these builds are made out of cobbled deep slate, tiled deep slate, and tough blocks. While at the top, it's tough, cobblestone, and andesite. Since I want this build to kind of fit in with the rest of the theme of this city, I will probably start using that in some way. I might think about doing something interesting where the darker shades will be on the side, but the lighter shades will be in the center, and maybe some sort of central window or some sort of central feature here. Let me work on that and get some materials, and then I'll show you guys where we're at. I got the walls in there, and I stripped all the spruce logs, but still not looking great at all. So I think I want to add some windows here, and I want to add maybe a central window here, and then I think I want to bring this out, maybe. It's just feeling like a really flat wall, and I want to add some depth. So let's try that, and I'll come right back. So it's starting to take shape. I've added some detail here. I added the windows, which I think push this wall out and add some contrast, and I pushed this balcony out and added some sort of decoration here. I think that's what I want to do next, but it's really coming together, and you can start to see how this building shapes and develops over time. One thing to remember is that this is Minecraft, and if you don't like something, try it again. The sun is setting over here of this custom tree I made a little bit earlier off camera, but this central sort of door is looking really, really cool. It's not really a door, it's kind of flat and there's no windows, but I'm starting to like how this is working. You can really see over the process of building how depth has changed this build. From a flat wall that it was originally, we're now going out from the trapdoors behind here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks in depth, and that really helps with a build. Stop hitting my cows. You will pay. Uh-oh, I hate you. So where do I go from here? I've already started creating depth, and now I think that this front facade is really done. Obviously, I haven't really touched anything on the other sides of the wall, but once you get some of the motifs and the designs of the building here, it's much easier to start bringing it out on the wall. For example, that major door thing that I did, I can make those arches go along the side of the building. The next thing I think I want to focus on is the roof. I want to have 2 roofs here. I originally was thinking this would be 2 turrets where we would have 2 high buildings here and then this would be lower, but I so far like this kind of steeped approach. I want 2 separate roofs, so I want to have 1 sloped roof that goes over these side wings here, and then 1 central roof that goes over the top. We've been using the same roof pattern throughout the entire build, right here, and this building that I made, which I actually hate. But I think that since this is going to be wider, I want to make a even different roof. These spikes, and I think I want to have them throughout the roof. Yeah, that roof is looking more and more like it. I added this roof here, and then these side sections up here. One thing you'll notice is that I actually curved in the top a little bit here. It felt a little too boxy. And then I added these fence gates up here to kind of box, not even box it in, but fill in the dead space right in the center of this building. And I think it's a really, really cool centerpiece. My only concern right now is that it's feeling a little colorless, especially right here. Looking down at it directly, you know, you see all the blue of all the other buildings. This building is entirely blue, and yeah, this is looking pretty monochromatic, so I'm trying to figure out the best way to add some color into this. Yeah, that's definitely the contrast that this building was lacking. Pretend that it actually has been oxidized and it's actually going to be that blue color. I find that it makes no sense for me to oxidize the copper and then put it in a build. Why don't you just put it in a build and then it'll oxidize? And I think this is really what I was looking for, and I'm looking at this build and feeling really, really good. So that's how you basically build in Minecraft. First, you create the 2D shape on the ground, and then you build it into a 3D shape. From there, you want to focus on adding depth, and then, using depth, you can add interest and contrast in order to build something special. I'm basically going to continue this idea on all 4 sides of the building, but since this episode is running a little long, let's hit time-lapse mode and finish this building. And it's done. I think it turned out really well. I don't think you're really going to see the back of the building this much, as I plan out building on this area and everything forward. I think the main view you're really going to see of this build is from this angle. But I'm really happy with the terraforming. I am not a terraformer, but I used a technique that I learned from Scar about how you want to create blobs and not necessarily random variation throughout the rock. So I tried to create these geode-like blocks with tuff and cobblestone and then some andesite. I added some moss and as well as some custom birch trees that we were working on the other side of the building. But I think it's turned out really well. Really happy with this build, and I think it's a very cool centerpiece for the rest of this village. But we're definitely not done here, and there's a lot more I want to do here. Which brings me to the Wall of Todo. On this wall, I listed some of the future projects that I want to get done in this series. We have that end island transformation that I mentioned earlier in the episode, which is a little bit on hold, but it's definitely something I want to do in the future, and I will not forget about it. Another thing I want to make is Aeaea, which all the materials are basically collected now. During the making of this video, I actually made a wither skeleton farm and a wither rose farm in order to get the black dye for dark prismarine, and I have beacons ready. So I need 3 stacks of beacons for Aeaea, but I think we're going to go into that in the next episode and show you the mechanics of the farm. But all the materials for Aeaea are basically collected, so all I need to do is place down the 75,000 blocks. Shouldn't be too hard, right? And then I want to work on another mega build. The cathedral, automatic storage room, and the super smelter all in one go. My plan is to have a new massive structure, which is a Gothic cathedral. Underneath this mountain will be my massive storage array, super smelter, and anything I need, and will be the main base of operations within this world. Another thing I would like to do, the interior of the chateau. It's not really done, but it's something I would like to chip away at over time, just because I'm not so great at interiors. As well as continuing the spawn tunnels, which are the Narnia tunnels that I created here. They sort of end, and I just kind of dug out some loose space, so I would like to continue this theme because I really like this block palette that I came up with, and continue that and make it a little more convoluted. I know there's going to be a ton of farms and other projects that are going to come up, especially with the Cathedral Mega Build upcoming, but I think this is a good roadmap for now to figure out what we need to do to continue this series. The Village Great Hall, which is that building over there, is done, so we can take that off the list and call it complete. There's one thing we need to do to finish out this episode. Deep in the taiga forest on the south side of our world, I have built a bunker to prepare for our next big operation. I'm in the bunker and I see something across the horizon that terrifies me. The world border was set up because this world was created in 1.17, and I wanted to preserve the outside world to the 1.18 terrain generation for future mega builds. Right here we have our supercomputer, which will be our chain of command to get this world border destroyed. Right here we have DEFCON 1, DEFCON 2, and DEFCON 3. We have our control panel here, which will activate our weapon system. Perfect, it looks operational. I think it's time to engage DEFCON 1. Activate? Okay, it's looking good, but I don't know if this is powerful enough to make it all the way to the world border. I think we have to upgrade the firepower a little bit and go to DEFCON 2. DEFCON 2 is looking a little more powerful. We're doing some damage to the wall here, but it doesn't look like it's budging. I think we have to get to DEFCON 3. Brace yourself, people. This could get intense. Turn on DEFCON 3. Whoa, that looks like it's doing a ton of damage. I think the world border is collapsing. And look! The world border is gone. Perfect. I'm super excited to explore the 1.18 terrain, as I haven't really been able to do that within this episode. But also on the day that I'm recording this, 1.19 has also come out. So I would love to see the Warden and the new Skulk blocks and really explore everything in 1.18, as well as the frog lights. I think those will do really, really well for my Cyberpunk city. Sorry the episode took so long to make, but I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and I'm super excited to keep playing in this world. But we have a lot of cool projects upcoming for this world, and I'm really, really excited to share them with you. Hopefully you guys will stick around for the next projects, and if you want to see more of the projects in real time, I do stream on Twitch, which can get you a little behind the scenes of this series and a little more as to how I design, build, and play the game itself. But with that, my name is the Maximus JK, and I'll see you later. Bye!